Gen X Gamer likes to say that he's got your Amico fix right there. But you know what? If you want the good stuff, you know where you got to come. You got to come here to the Geek Getaway because we got all the Amico news you could use.
Hey, hey, get out of my way. I gotta see what Tony TGD's gonna say. Time to listen to the Geek Getaway. Cause I'm rocking so many geeky film games and TV shows. Maybe if we're lucky, the weather expose the Amico. Hey, hey, get out of my way. This Houston news and hot takes, so you might as well stay. It's time to listen to the Geek Getaway.
What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated Tony TGD coming at you with I don't want to call it an interview because we're just going to go over an interview that I already did. I conducted this earlier today. I talked with the developer behind Backtalk Party, Telestrations, and Blank Slate. Pixel Pug co-founder Jeff Need. He sat down with me. We had a little discussion, a little back and forth. I wrote it up, put it up on the website. The link will be in the description in case you don't want to hear my voice. If you'd rather just read it for yourself, link will be in the description of this video. Before we get into it, let me remind you to like the video, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel because that makes me feel good when you guys subscribe. All right, so we're going to go ahead over this article from the Geek Getaway. Great website. You should go there as much as possible. It says exclusive interview with Intellivision Amico developer or Intellivision Amico game developer Pixel Pug co-founder Jeff Neat. It was posted by Tony TGD on April 11th, 2022. So this is hot off the presses. Just got posted to the website. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. Backtalk Party, that's what you see here. It's been alluded to as the sixth packing game. Couldn't get confirmation on that from the developers. Tight-lipped. But this, people have been talking about it, speculating. So I went in there. I talked to them. I got a little questions answered. So we're going to go over it. We're going to skip the opening paragraph. That's just, setting up the interview. It says, first off, I asked him, I said, is this connected to Backtalk by Gravit Engine? That's a free mobile game. You can find it on the App Store, on the Google Store. Jeff says, no, it's an original IP that my wife and I designed. I did see that app pop up a few years ago and thought it was interesting that they chose the same name. Their logo even looks similar to ours initially, but I mean, it's two arrows. So I go on to ask him, I said, what was the inspiration for Backtalk Party? Jeff says, that's kind of a funny story. It's kind of a fun story. It started with my wife almost disrupting a concert. We were in the third row and the artist did something with an effects pedal that got her so tickled she couldn't stop laughing. Every time she would almost get it under control, she would think about it again and bust up in another roar of laughter. So on the drive home, we were talking. I said, I wonder if we could bottle that lightning as a gameplay mechanic and let other people experience that as well. So that's what we did. We prototyped that mechanic using a couple of phones and it worked. So I wrote up a dedicated prototype in Unity and threw it on my phone at Christmas in 2016. We worked through different rules and challenges at New Year's and birthday parties and family gatherings for a few years. We got to a point where we would run into friends and they would ask if they could buy our game somewhere yet. We had trouble finding the right platform for it because of one of the challenges was having a loud enough speaker to play back the audio. Not great on a phone. We also had a mode that requires players to make a private vote, so we didn't want a shared device. We had considered partnering with the toy company to manufacture a custom device. So when we came across the Amico, I left it as he wrote it, but it is the Amico, not the Amoco, obviously, and saw all of the hardware they were packing into the controller. It happened to perfectly support everything we wanted to do. So we shared the idea with Tommy, and he loved it and agreed that it would showcase the hardware well and demonstrate some of the unique gameplay capabilities of the console. I said, do you find it easier or harder to code for the Amico? Any unique challenges? And Jeff said, well, we're working in Unity, so if your architecture is solid, the game code itself isn't affected by the platform. The design obviously takes advantage of the on controller screen and microphone. We were leaning into that because no other console supports that combination of play. So there are some unique challenges that come along with designing for allowing a room of 8 people to be individually recording audio, keeping players' attention, the actual sending of those recordings wireless, etc. The UX of teaching such a broad age range of players to interact with the controller in many different ways, it's something you take for granted as a hardcore gamer. To my surprise, when I hand a controller to most older players, say 50 plus, they grab it and hold it like a phone with the disc at the bottom. I thought it was ridiculous to think players would want that at first, as many others voiced, but the actual playtesting shows that's just what some people find more natural. More to your point, the bigger challenge comes from coding for a new platform. That 10% that serves as the glue between your game and the prototype hardware is constantly in flux. So you write workarounds still, those features exist. Then you have to go back and rip out the workaround and wire up the official API. But on a new system, you're usually the first to hit bugs or missing use cases in a new release and need to have some back and forth with the publisher to get an extra option added or some edge case handled. Our team has developing our team has developing on new hardware like the Nook, Ouya, Google, Daydream, etc. And there's always a risk and more pain that comes with a new platform. But the trade-off is getting to participate in a very smart market for a time which solves the discoverability issue you would face releasing on Steam or the app stores. One example would be that the controllers didn't exist when we started our project, so we wrote virtual controllers as a Unity app that would run on tablets and join an offline or an online multiplayer session to the game, so we could begin working on the touchscreen interactions right away. And then eventually, when the software controller came out, we transitioned to that. Then finally to the hardware controllers. Each of those steps entered a more resource-constrained environment, so we had to optimize further. As I said, I just want to clarify something. When you say the controllers didn't exist when you started the project, you meant prior to signing with Amico, correct? I know some developers had issues getting Amico controllers and was wondering if you had that issue too. So I just wanted to clarify what he had said to make sure that we're all on the same time frame and the same uh, understanding of when he's saying working without the controllers. He says, so when we were working on the game at that stage, the physical controllers and console just didn't exist yet. The designs weren't finalized. There wasn't hardware to assemble. I don't think that's really news. They were sharing updates on renderings, etc. So we just built our own system that would act as a mock for the controller that we would replace with the actual controller later. That way we could keep developing. Later, once the dev kit software and hardware was available, we just swapped it out. We were at a point where we could have started using hardware controllers before the physical controllers were available, but that's sort of the nature of the beast when working with hardware and development. Initially, when I built the schedule, I didn't think it was going to be an issue, but the pandemic threw a wrench into the timeline for getting a hold of dev kits that would have been impossible to predict. Then stacking a chip shortage, somewhat of an economic cold war with China, and both Sony and Microsoft announcing and competing for manufacturing resources in the same window. I wholeheartedly believe that Tommy and now Phil have done everything in their power to make this project happen, fighting uphill odds the whole way. But that is basically the job description of a CEO in an environment like this, carrying the vision and rallying the troops to try to achieve something that others think can't be done. I said, can you let me know the status of the 3 Amico games you're working on? Have they gone gold? In addition, to clarify, in addition to Backtalk Party, Pixelpug is also developing Telestrations and Blank Slate for the Intellivision Amico. Jeff says, that's an interesting question that could be a much bigger discussion all on its own. I hear lots of fish shaking in the comment section about the games that illustrates a lack of understanding in how development works and the challenges Intellivision is tackling bringing a new console to market. 2 of the games have been playable for a long time. I mean, we showed Backtalk Party at E3 2019. We were playing Blank Slate with friends and family back in 2020. So the best answer is probably that they are close to ready for launch, but not yet certified. The gap between almost and done is mainly what I mentioned before about chasing down those API bugs and features. Of all the games I'm aware in the lineup, we probably use the mic most heavily, so we're the ones that are going to hit the rough edges first and have to wait for a fix before we're satisfied with the quality of interaction. We also push the controller UI more in terms of animation and game feel, so we hit limitations faster. The games have worked with our software controller for a long time. It's the hardware that takes longer to see progress. Initially, the loop was pretty tight on hardware adjustments, and they could just overnight boards back and forth from China as they were iterating maybe a 3-day turnaround. COVID inserted a 2-week quarantine each way, which drastically slowed down the process there. Not to mention that much of the hardware team was in Southern California, so you had the lockdowns going on too. It just hit the brakes on everything and really dealt a tough blow to all the downstream progress for the Amico. So when I read comments about people saying they can't believe these games aren't done yet, etc., or wondering if there are any games for the console, it's kind of silly because it just demonstrates that the process isn't clear. You would start making the games before creating the hardware, but you also can't technically finish the games until the hardware is done. So it's not strange to me that there are titles that were announced years ago that aren't finished yet. But it's not like you have a team of 50 people working on each game of these games full-time across the years. They're smaller in scope, and developers have to be flexible around the hardware delays as well. So they may work on something else until the next firmware update is available. But it's not the same kind of delay as when CD Projekt Red or Nintendo says they need another 6 months. We're not actively working out bugs on a daily basis. You are waiting on upstream blockers to get resolved. I said, do you feel pressure to deliver since the Amico was a brand new entity? Jeff answered, said, our studio is focused on quality, period. One of the things my co-founder and I share is an appreciation for meticulous aesthetic design and beauty. That said, part of my job is to try and balance the pressure of budget against our desire for perfection. For instance, we told Tommy early on that one of our goals was to have the best looking Amico controller screens because, as the contact point with the player, the UX of the controller is going to set the tone for the interactions with the player. So we've pushed right up and in some cases over the boundaries of what the controller can handle. Then, whenever possible, we work with the hardware guys to make the interactions work rather than have to cut back on the design. I said, has it been a struggle to not talk about your game and its secret mechanics? And Jeff said, yes, that's probably one of the hardest things. These games are not the scope and scale of a 3-year dev cycle. They're things that we want to see others playing for a long time now, and they're so close to the finish line. I said, I saw that you were working on 3 Amico games and 2 games for other platforms. Can you share a bit about these non-Amico games? Jeff said, both are in pretty early stages. One is a Twitch-first social deduction game designed to invite viewers to engage directly with streamers and help foster community. The other is a competitive silly sports couch online co-op game that features ever-changing playfield environment, conditions, and equipment. And that's all he had to say at this time. He said if we had further questions, to let him know he would be willing to answer them. I mean, if you guys got any questions you want me to answer or you want me to ask the developer, let me know in the comment section below. If you think I missed anything, if you think I wasn't hard enough, let me know in the comments below. Like I said, if you didn't want to hear my voice, if you want to see the written version for yourself, the link is in the description. Hopefully, we'll get some more developers to open up, talk to us about their games, share their journey on making Amico products. But as always, love, peace, booty grease. I'm out this bitch.